Hey, everybody out there. I hope y'all are doing good today. I'm doing swell. And thought I'd talk about my tournament last weekend. I've had a lot of people reach out, and I sure appreciate it, that were concerned with how my tournament went over the last weekend down Greers Ferry. And man, it makes me happy that y'all care. And I thought I'd just do a video about that and share how that tournament went. I showed you a quote right there, and as y'all know, I'm big into quotes. And I think this quote was fitting for this weekend. To thine own self be true. William Shakespeare, Hamlet. You know, sometimes I think in fishing, that's just the number one thing. It ain't about catching a bunch of fish. It ain't about winning every tournament. Sometimes it's just about being true to yourself. And that's how this weekend played out. So last weekend I'd been down there and caught quite a few fish on a crankbait, fishing channel rock and stuff like that, and felt pretty good about that situation. But Thursday, in that area, they got around 9 inches of rain, and that lake, it came up a lot. 7, 8, 9 feet, I don't even know how much, but a lot. With a lot of really, really turbid, red clay, muddy water that came in with zero visibility. Lots and lots of trash in the water. There was quite a few logs, but lots of pine needles and leaves. So like a lot of the banks I was trying to fish with crankbait were just covered in pine needles. You couldn't fish them hardly or anything like that. But so I fished Friday pre-fishing. Once I got down, I realized that everything had went out the window and started. My normal thing during early spring is get to fishing runoffs. I love runoffs. It was a really, really warm rain that had run in. And so anytime I'm faced with that scenario, I begin to figure out how I'm going to target runoffs in the tournament, and hopefully you hit the right one. It's a huge risk fishing runoffs, and I'm going to do some more videos about those going forward here because they are absolute feast or famine. When you find the right one, you win. You catch the biggest stringer in the lake. But when you don't, like I did this last weekend, you don't catch much of nothing. The water had been running in the mid 40s, and the water that was coming in was like 51 on average, running in the backs of all those creeks. Some of them were stained, some of them were clear. And I fished quite a few on Friday, really with no results at all. Had no bites in them, but noticed a few shads starting to flicker in some of them, and I was like, this might play out by tomorrow, the next day. So I just started looking for good ones that I could see had good water. When it comes to runoff, I like to look for ones that have transitions of some sort. Either you have real clean water with stained water coming in, creating a mud line of clear to stained, or I look for the ones where you have really muddy water, but now you have clear water coming in, and you have a break line of muddy to clear. Those are what I look for, and the lake was kind of, different creeks would be muddy and different ones would be clear, so I spent most of the day Friday just looking at a lot of different ones and kind of getting an idea what's going on with them. I did stop on a couple of banks, and I caught a nice fish on a crankbait, so I thought, well, maybe that's still hanging in a little bit. So I set up my stuff for what I normally fish runoffs with, and that's a white chartreuse spinnerbait, a white chatterbait, and a heavy half-ounce black and red jig with a black zoom large salty chunk on there. And that's usually the things I target runoffs with. Sure enough, like here, we had lots of bushes in the water and trees. You just couldn't hardly fish a crankbait around the backs of those pockets. So I just set out on the day. I had 3 banks that I was going to go start the day fishing a crankbait on, hoping to maybe just catch a couple of keepers real quick and then go to fishing runoffs. I fished through that water with a crankbait, never caught a fish, and then I just began fishing runoffs. I committed to them for most of the day, just going from pocket to pocket, creek to creek, and just never getting any bites. But I stayed committed to myself on this. I was like, I just need to hit one of them. It's, the tournament's only one with 12 pounds. I knew 10 or 11 pounds would look really good, and it just takes one pocket to do that in this situation. So I just stuck with it. I just kept going from one to the other. I fished into the muddy water where it could be clear. I fished into the opposite of that. I did find one that, man, it was perfect. And there was a huge school of shad all piled up in the back of this pocket. And there was a good group of bass working those shad. Every time I checked it like 4 different times that day, thinking if I can get in there and get them to bite. And I tried a lot of different things on a fluke that I've done well in the past on some back wash ends. I just could not get those bass to bite. And they were working that area pretty hard in the back of that creek. And I just couldn't get them to bite anything. But I kept checking them to the very end. It was the last spot I hit in the day. I went in there one last time. Had one fish knock at my bait, but didn't get it. But out of the whole day, that was the only one I found that really had a lot of activity in it. But I just knew I needed to get 1 or 2 bites in those and I would be okay. So I say all that to say this. At the end of the day, I only weighed one little old keeper I finally caught on a crankbait real late in the day. I stopped on one little bank and threw out there with a rock crawler and caught one keeper. And I was able to at least weigh a fish in, and I weighed it in proudly. But I drove home 100% satisfied. I wasn't upset at the tournament. I wasn't upset at how it came out. All the fish were caught deep, live scoping, and I knew that was going to be the case. But I stayed true to myself. I stayed true to my strengths, what I enjoy doing, and I'm going to tell you, I used a lot of boat gas going in and out of boat creeks. I had a great time fishing. I didn't get frustrated. I stayed focused on the job at hand, and I gave it my best shot to do well with the pattern I decided to try to run with. Hey, that's all you can do in this game, folks. I love the strategy of fishing. I love coming up with a plan. I love leaving the lake satisfied, even though I didn't catch any fish, knowing I did what I could do. And there's something to that, folks. You don't always have to win to be a winner. And I think that's getting lost in today's world. So there's kind of a rundown of my weekend. It was a beautiful drive home. Had an unbelievable sunset coming down Interstate 40. The beautiful red. Had great music was playing on the radio. Some old Leonard Skinner and stuff that I love so much. Run down the highway. Some old Marshall Tucker band playing. Just ripping up some interstate coming home. Look at that sunset going, we're getting ready for another tournament here in a few weeks. Hey, you can't beat that. Keep your head up out there. Remember, be true to yourself. That's where you really win. Catch y'all next time.